So, Joan Kaler, e top level EFT certified practitioner, certified by my daughter in ASAP, and 20-year expert in OCD. We have another case to talk about, and this one has to do with a young boy who has OCD symptoms. But we've got an unusual situation here in that he's not an adult, and we really can't get to easily the core of things, through asking him questions about specific events and so on. That's me talking, but why don't you give us the case?
Okay. Well, a mother called me up about her 8-year-old son a year ago who was having OCD symptoms of fear. Let's see, let me just refer to my notes a little bit. Oh, his obsession was he was afraid he was harming other students.
Mm-hmm.
He has such a good young man and such a kind heart, and he thought just by looking at students, or if he accidentally brushed by them and he touched them on the bus, that somehow he was harming other students.
Okay. Now, let me interject something here.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes with an adult that has OCD, we can ask them about these behaviors and they will recognize that these behaviors are irrational or illogical, yet they do them anyway, and they're in conflict. This young boy, did he know it was irrational or illogical, or he really believed he was harming them?
He really believed he was harming them.
Okay. That's a different level here now, too, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue.
So I talked to him a little bit about how he's not making the worries, that his brain is making the worries, but if we tap on them, then they may go away. So I asked him to make a list of all his worry events.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also asked him to put a name to his worries, because oftentimes dealing with children, what we do is we ask them to think up a name for their OCD symptoms so that we can put the OCD in the third person.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
And then the child says, oh, this isn't me. This is this bully in my mind. And I'm now going to tap away the bully.
Okay, so the name in your example would be bully here.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So now they tap away, tap on the bully. So give me some examples. Even though I have this bully in my head.
Even though I have this bully in my head telling me that I hurt my friend, I'm a really good boy, or I really enjoy playing hockey, or I really enjoy playing soccer.
Yes. Okay. All right.
And then we tap on the bully in my head, the bully in my head, the bully in my head, telling me I'm hurting my friends, I'm hurting my friends, I'm hurting my friends, I'm hurting my friends. So we go through a couple rounds of tapping on that.
Okay. And what people listening in that may not have lots of EFT experience might get from that is, why are you keep tapping on the negative? I'm hurting my friends. I'm hurting my friends. I mean, aren't you embedding this? And the answer is no. We're actually aiming at the negative, are we not?
Yes, we are.
Talk about that some.
You cannot tap anything, tap on the positive or do any kind of a positive installation until we bring the emotional crescendo or emotional response of the negative down to a very low level. As long as the emotional response of the negative is high, there is no way that we're going to be able to do any positive thinking, positive tapping on this. Yeah. So we've got to get the crescendo down and hopefully out before we can start tapping on the positive.
Okay, good point. And in my case, I generally don't tap on the positive, just to give another perspective to that. Because I like to think that the positive are
going to come out naturally.
Yeah, it's our true nature. And if we get rid of all this negative overlay, the debris in the way, then the more joyous thing, the more positive comes up. But at any rate.
Very good point.
Okay.
So what we hope for is that once the emotional crescendo comes down, then the young man will say, gee, I don't know why the bully was even I don't know why I was even listening to the bully in my head.
Yeah,
That's such a silly thought.
yes, and that kind of thing happens with great frequency when EFT is skillfully done, because this is like a cognitive shift. It's a belief change, if you will,
Yes.
behind the scenes, because you've taken care of the negative. Okay, that's a big clue. But the one thing we need to address here is this: when we start tapping on the bully in my head or bully in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
we are actually tapping on symptoms, not causes. And that's
Right.
because with a young 8-year-old boy, how do we have an adult conversation to get to what might have caused this emotionally? It's a
Well,
difficult conversation.
that's what I started with a year ago. Now, if a young person comes in, I'm going to say, was there ever a time in your life when you felt this scared or when you felt this upset? To
Yeah,
see if you can't seek out an event in life that might have contributed to this bully in your brain.
yeah. And what comes up for me is I like that question. I might also ask something like, "Can you tell me a time when you were really afraid, or when you were really angry? Can you tell me a time when you really felt guilty or something?" Now, they can probably tell you something like this, and that what they're pointing to is specific events.
Yes.
Now, they may not be on the bullseye, but they're likely to be on the target someplace.
Yes.
And so, while it's going to be difficult it's going to be challenging to be precise and a surgeon with this, with surgical precision. We can probably get to cause a little more. But 8-year-old boy, there's still going to be a challenge. But go ahead with what happened.
Well, we tapped on the bully in his mind over and over again. And then in the course of a year, now I didn't tap on specific events with him. Now I would. Then I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of the year now, he's fine.
Okay.
The point I've learned is if I had asked more questions and found specific events, found times in his life when he felt really scared, we may have been able to cut the treatment time from a year down to 4 months or 3 months or 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would have been much shorter. Instead of tapping all around everything, we might have been able to zero in closer to what started this in the first place.
Sure. And one of the things that I talk about a lot on our website and newsletter and this kind of thing has to do with aiming stuff at symptoms. It isn't. It isn't that it doesn't work. It's just. I mean, it's inefficient compared to getting down to cause.
Well, what I've learned over the last 18 years that I've been studying EFT is that's the EFT of the 20th century. Now we have the EFT of the 21st century, and we can really hit the bullseye now.
Yeah. So we do progress.
I want to mention to folks is, of course, the buzzword with OCD is serotonin. There's not enough serotonin in between the nerve cells, and that's why they have OCD.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all fine and wonderful, but if you use EFT, get to specific events, guess what?
Yeah.
There may be more serotonin in between the nerve cells. So, from a biological point,
yes. And,
yes,
and yes, and that is the way the medical profession would approach this, because that's their training.
right.
I'm not a doctor, so I come at it from a
Neither am I.
much different angle. But the thing I want to mention there is the medical folks would point to this imbalance. I'm going to call it a chemical imbalance in the brain. You call it serotonin, okay? But I'm going to be a little more general than that, because they will
Okay.
also use the same concept for, let's say, depression or something like that. It's a brain imbalance chemistry, blah 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 thing, okay? And so that's the training, etc. But what I want to know is what causes that? What causes the serotonin issue in the brain? What causes that? Because the serotonin issue in the brain, to me, as a non-doctor, is
Yes.
another level of the symptom.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and we see over and over again, if we get involved with the emotional drivers to things, then these chemical imbalances in brains and all the other medical explanations tend to fall by the wayside, because we're addressing it and getting results, just going for tapping on emotional and energetic stuff on emotional issues. Really fascinating, and you've brought that up here. I think that's great. Anything more you have to say on our bullying client?
Other than the fact that he's doing just fine right now, he's in school, he's a happy 8-year-old with no more OCD symptoms. So the mother is eternally grateful for EFT.
All right, great. Joan, thank you so much for sharing, all your wisdom and experience with us. That's going to be really useful, I think, for all those listening in.
It's my honor and privilege to talk with you today, Gary, as always.
All right, thanks.